This is Engage 2015.
From Publicis North America, please welcome Sabine Ahmed.
Everybody, welcome. Thank you for coming. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the art of content creation. I'm going to put quotes around the word art today. Quickly, what is the point of content? Why is it important to us? Basic value. We want to provide value in owned and earned spaces. And now owned and earned are becoming very blurred, especially with Facebook and other places like Twitter, Pinterest, etc. But still, the point is to add value. So when it comes to that, I asked some friends, when you think of a social media person, when you think of what I do, what do you guys think that is? And a lot of people said, I got actual quotes from them. They said, well, I think it's a lot of people just taking pictures of their food, posting them everywhere. It's really annoying. Then another said, I'm pretty sure I see that every day in Brooklyn. There are hipsters sitting there with their laptops and saying the word dude a lot. So I'm pretty sure that's what content creation is. And I thought, maybe that could be true. But it's also a lot of this. It's a lot of creativity and collaboration. So while Shira just talked to you about the amazing stuff that Disney comes up with, she's got Winnie the Pooh in her pocket, she's got some Star Wars figures. How do we create content that's interesting, right? So it's a lot of collaboration, a lot of people sitting behind the scenes and creating fun images that we want to see. So I'm going to go into that really quickly. So art, the art of content creation, it's assessment, research, and thought. So I'm not going to talk to you about the amazing things that you can do because you do them every day for your specific brands, but I want to tell you what goes into it. So we're going to start with assessment. So assessment really quickly. Why? There's one slide in this section, and the question is, why are you creating content? Why is your brand creating content? Altimeter Group came up with this amazing thing called the Social Media Measurement Compass, and it has 6 reasons that you need to question the first stage of if you need to create social media content. Why are you doing so? So in a lot of cases, you'll hear, and I've heard it yesterday in the workshops, people were saying, these clients of mine, they want to know about ROI. They really want to know ROI. You can tell them, I can do that for you in 6 different ways. Ultimately, you have one business goal. But there's 6 ways that social can work for you. 1, it's brand health. I can help improve the perception of your brand. I can help improve visibility of your brand. I can help improve customer experiences. So I know that you're going to have Emirates speak to you. KLM is here. All these brands, they're socially devoted brands for a reason because they are improving the customer experience, making people feel like they've been heard, and they're also providing value to their clients and themselves by learning. So ultimately, they can innovate. They can collaborate with customers, create new products and services because they're learning. All of these brands, all of you guys are learning from your customers if you're doing social right. And ultimately, you can improve your marketing, you can optimize operations, make it more efficient. And finally, ultimately, what our goal for everybody here is, in a lot of cases, revenue generation. So you can generate revenue, and you can make a difference in your social goals. So that was it. One slide for assessment, right? So now we're going to get into research. And this is my thing. This is what I love. It's called big data. We talked about it yesterday in the sessions at the workshop. So research is the bulk of it. And what the research really is identifying a lot about the consumer. So while you guys saw all the amazing things that Disney's doing and all the other brands that you're working with, what you have to know is who are you talking to? So you have to identify your audience. Step number 1, right? Who are you talking to? Where are they in social spaces or in other places? I work in digital strategy, so we have to think holistically. So you have to think not only in social, but where are they going in TV, print, radio? Are they using Spotify? You have to think of those things as well. What are they doing? And what do they find interesting and relevant? That last one is really important to us. What do they find interesting and relevant? Because what's interesting and relevant is how we create that content. So who are we talking to? How do we find out about that stuff? So I don't know, how many of you guys have heard of Forrester Technographics? Anyone? I'm giving them a big shout out today. So Forrester Technographics is a tool that we use at Publicis. And basically what it is it helps you identify your, who you're trying to talk to, right? So I say to them, I need to find out about the 20 to 40-year-old demographic in the United States. Can you give me some information about how they are in social? So they give me all this information. They tell me on a scale, they started with the social technographics ladder, which is on the left, and then they've moved to the scale that's on the right. What they say is, either there's four categories which I've listed. Essentially, they're socially skipping. So they're the ones who are inactive in a lot of cases. They're not really involved. We don't care about them. They call it the Facebook. They're social snackers. They're the ones who bite-size. They're the ones who, pop in. There might be the spectators or the former joiners. They're the ones who, you guys might know them. They have one Twitter feed. They use it once in a while. They might not use it otherwise. There's the socially savvy. I'd say majority of those people in this room are hopefully socially savvy. And then there's the social stars, and the people you're seeing on stage, and as well, Bethany Moda is a great example of that social star. She created her own content. She's the one who made her name because she does fun things that people are interested in. She creates content that is similar to other things that you want to see in your own newsfeed, right? So you identify where your audience is and what they're doing. So we know from this that they are, let's say they're socially savvy, right? Then you have to layer on some more research. It's a lot of research, there's a lot of data, but from this stuff we get really good content. So basically I use one really amazing tool, it's called Google. I don't know if you've heard of it. But it's really helpful, right? So Google, you do amazing searches. You look for searches every day. From that, you can find white papers. Mintel is a great source. You can find media behaviors from Nielsen, Catalina, and ComScore. And then I love getting eMarketer newsletters every day because they give me really great information in the form of graphs and charts. And I can find out what's the latest in digital. So really good stuff there. Then you can do an MROC survey. MROC surveys are market research online communities. I highly recommend, if you haven't joined one, join it. It's fun. You get to answer questions from brands and you get free prizes as well. So really good way to find out information. You as a brand love it because I can ask questions I want to know. Why are you using that cell phone? Do you keep it in your front pocket, in your back pocket? Do you like this app or that app? Now tell me in your own words what you think about it. Tell me what you think truly. And so you have these quotes, really rich data, really rich quotes that help inform you, and you can add to that information about what you know about your audience. So what happens? A profile starts to build. Now I have a profile of my target audience. So I know they're 22 to 30. I know what their income is. I know their social behaviors. In some cases, they're spectators. Majority of them are spectators, but they are joiners, meaning they're on social. Some people are critics. I know their interests, I know a little bit about them, and I know what their mobile behavior is. That's obviously hugely important now as everything is mobile. So as profile starts building, right? So, okay, I'm learning more about my consumer. Now, you can develop an Inforich Persona. So using Jan as an example, I'm going to find out more about him. I want to know what are his common objectives, what are his hobbies and interests, what else can I find out? And from this, I develop three personas, right? So I found out, okay, I have a guy named Mike. He's a techie. He's 25 to 34. I'm also talking to a person who would be named Zoe, for example. And she's 18 to 33. She's a socialite. Jeff is cost conscious. He is 35 to 49. He's got kids at home. So I have to think of content that will be relevant to him. So you can see the difference in the three, right? I have a techie, a socialite, super interested in how they appear, and also a cost conscious person. So how can I create content that will affect each one of them in different ways? So once you have these personas, right, you now can map out a consumer journey. Consumer journeys are really, really important in digital now. Google has a wonderful thing called the ZMON. If any of you have heard of it, it's the zero moment of truth. What it is basically they're saying before you even know you're going to buy something, you're already kind of searching for it. It's in the back of your mind. So from that point, from the stimulus of like, oh, I kind of think I want to buy that, to the ZMON, all the way to the shelf, you're going through a process. You're going through search, you're reading reviews, you're watching videos. How many of you watch an unboxing video of a cell phone you wanted to buy, right? That's exactly what that is. So you're watching all these things, and you're ultimately asking your network, what do you recommend? What should I buy? And then you're going to go to the shelf. So that is the process that we're trying to map out across the funnel, across the buying purchase funnel. So awareness through advocacy, how can I reach them? Through social, you can do so much. You can push them to an email. You can push them to CRM. You can push them to go visit a store. You can tell them to go buy it on this from a blog. You can go to a blog and send them to a different place to buy something. So as a social person, you can send them in so many different ways. We can send them every way we want to, and it makes a huge difference to brands because we have the ear of the consumer, and we're listening to them one-on-one as well. That consumer journey is super important, and what it does is makes us look at social. What can we offer them through social? What can content do for you? So there are four things that I like to point out. One, we are here to help you feel good about your choices. We know you have many airlines to choose from, you have many hotels to choose, you have many brands you can choose, but we want you to feel good about the fact that you chose us. We have expertise to help you in areas of your life that matter most. So yeah, if you want to make a reservation or you want to do this, we know the most about that. It is our job to know everything about our field. And so we're going to do that for you. We're going to help you. So we're transparent and enthusiastic troubleshooters. The reason why most of these brands that you're seeing are socially devoted are because they're transparent and enthusiastic. There's a problem with an airline, they will immediately talk to you. If there's a problem with your order, they'll immediately reach out to you and fix it and work to help you and make you feel better about it. I think a lot of people I've spoken to so many people myself, as I'm one of them, and you have those situations where you say, oh, I'm never going to use that brand again. But then they reach out on social and you're like, okay, maybe I will. They're great. So ultimately, as a brand, we have to tell our consumers, we are here to make your life better. We're not just here to promote products, though we really want you to buy them. That's it, right? We want you to make your life better. So, important thing about social content strategy is an imperative. I think Shira talked about it for a second. You have to use the data that you have on hand. So SEO and SEM data, super important. I want to know what people are searching for. I want to know why they're searching for it. It's really fun. If you guys haven't played Google Feud, it's a great way to figure out what people are thinking. You just type in a couple letters and see what pops up in the search engine box, right? And then you define a content strategy from those things. I know that I need to talk about my products a certain percentage of the time. I need to talk about the brand a certain percentage of the time, but I can also use curated content, so content from third parties, as well as lifestyle content that will really help change things up and make things interesting for my consumers. And then I can put them in the calendar in different ways. So I use the tools to know what day parting, when to post, what days of the week. Throwback Thursdays didn't just happen. Throwback Thursdays are ritualized content that became really popular because people knew every Thursday they could depend on it. So by having those types of things in your back pocket, you can really come up with some great content. One of the last things to talk about for the research section is defining your brand voice. Brand voice, super important. You want to have a consistent brand voice, right? So you have to define a character. Are you friendly, warm, or inspiring? For tone, are you honest, witty, or personal? In terms of language, are you simple, straightforward, and fun? And purpose. What is your purpose of your content, right? It's that same question back again. Why? So you want to educate in some cases, inspire, in some cases inspire and support. So when you have these things in your head, it's also really helpful to have a picture. So how many of you recognize this guy right here? Anyone? I know this is an international crowd. Okay. So, Morgan Freeman, if you can hear his voice, many times you can hear his voice in his head. He's literally played God in many movies. So, you have this voice, right? You have this voice, and so you can, when you create content, you have that picture on the wall, you create content, and you have that voice. So every time you create it, that content remains very much the same in terms of brand voice. So, you maintain that throughout, no matter what platform you're on. So, all of that just happened. You just figured out who you're talking to. You also figured out how you're going to talk to them and where you're going to talk to them. Really important stuff. So you've done your homework. You're now ready to ace the test. Now it's time for thought. Quick things. Go forth and create content, right? You've done your content strategies, you have talked to friends, you've talked to colleagues, you've brainstormed, you've sat outside and tried to think about things. So be inspired. Go sit outside in the park. Go, have a Pinterest board or an actual wall of images that inspire you to create content for your brand. One of my former community managers actually worked on a beer brand, so she would pop open the beer, play really rough and tough Irish music, and have a picture of a motorcycle on her screen, and then she would type content up. So any way you can get inspired, right, you have to do it. So that's one way to do it. And don't recreate the wheel. This is a really great book I highly recommend called Steal Like an Artist. And what he says, Austin says, is there's good theft and bad theft. And we have to remember in social, a lot of stuff has been created before, right? Infographics already exist. So how can you transform it or remix it to make it better? Take other people's infographics, get inspired by those, mash them up, make them better, make them your own. Figure that same thing out with blogs. A lot of blogs already exist. Finance blogs exist, art blogs exist, things exist. So take that information, take that content, mash it up, make it more interesting, make it relevant to you, make it relevant to your consumers because you know everything about them now, and then use that in your content. And finally, keep design in mind. Is this good for reading, right? So why is Pinterest and why is Instagram, why are these guys doing so well? Because social is now with a visual magazine. You flip through really quickly, right? You go through your Instagram feed just like this. You go through your Twitter feed, and we pay $200,000 for each of those tweets that you're flying through, but you're going through those tweets every single day, just quickly. So the things that stop us are the things that are interesting and visually appealing, right? So you're going to stop. Same thing with a magazine. You're going to stop to read the article that catches your eye. So you have to keep design in mind and make it really appealing in that sense. So you want to harness the power of each platform. I won't get into this too much because you just saw that happen on Disney. But basically, you can do infographics, use really visual things on Pinterest, create how-to videos on YouTube, and even use LinkedIn. It's a great tool for the business-minded as well, for blogs and its content, influencer content. Google Hangouts, Google+, Google Hangouts, still a good place to do stuff. Things like Reddit, things that are out of the box in some cases, also an interesting place. So harness the power of each of those platforms, right? And I want to remind you, this room is filled with people who've worked really hard and are always looking at things like the Oreo tweet. How many of you guys I really have to ask this. How many of you guys have heard about the Oreo tweet? Yeah, right. It is the tweet that happened that was heard around the world during the Super Bowl when the lights went out. Oreo immediately tweeted, "Power out, no problem. Just, you can still dunk in the dark." Brilliant, awesome. And I've had brands that are like, "I want that tweet. Why can't you guys do that stuff for me?" And 360i did this tweet, great job for them. Publicis has a news desk idea as well. This thing happened because we have teams like this sitting in the back room. This is the setup that took that tweet. There's a legal team sitting there. There's a brand team sitting there. There's a strategist, a producer, an art director, a copywriter. That whole team sat in that room to create that real-time content. So if you're ever getting frustrated or upset or like, how do I do this? Remember, it takes a village. So don't get frustrated too soon. This is what it takes to create real-time content. But that's not to say planned content can't be interesting too. Anyone seen the smart cards tweet? I've seen a bunch of smart cars in Prague. It's really great. Basically, someone tweeted to the brand, engaged with the brand, and said, "Saw a bird had crapped on a smart car, totaled it," meaning destroyed it. Smart car took their time and decided to tweet back and did some research and said, "Couldn't have been one bird. Sounds more like 4.5 million. Seriously, we did the math." And then they did an infographic. So they made an actual infographic of the number of birds and the types of birds it would take to destroy a smart car. So planned content, that tweet went viral, right? So those things can be done if they're thought out and they're smart and you're thinking of different ways to create new types of content. So the money slide, right? 5 questions to ask yourself about content. 1, does this content help achieve the brand's goals? That's the same question, the first thing in assessment, right? Why? Why are we doing this? Does it help achieve your goals? 2, is the content relevant to your audience? Is it unique to your brand? Is it valuable or entertaining? And 5, this is the big one, would you personally share this content? Or I like to ask, would your mom share this content? Right? Exactly. If your mom, who loves you and has no idea in many cases what you're doing, but says, my kid just posted this, if she's not willing to post that and do that, you have to rethink your content. Because if you or your mom or someone else that you know wouldn't reshare this, then maybe you should go back to the drawing board and try again. So those 5 questions. So I'm almost done, I swear. We talked about art, we talked about assessment, research, and thought. Now we're going to talk about data, because this is an analytics conference to some degree. So we can't just stop there, right? You use tools to delve deeper. So shout out to social bakers here. You have analytics tools. You want to see what's working. You want to see what's working in social listening, what people are saying about you, and what's working in your ads. How can the ads, are you paying too much per engagement? So how can you adjust accordingly? And essentially, you look at those analytics. You find key trends and themes and things you can pull out and use later on, right? And what you want to do is you're going to get to know your community better. One of my friends works for a shoe brand, and he really takes those personas that we worked on in the research stage and builds on them. So he finds out more. He actually looks at the customers who are engaging with him and says, okay, let me see more about this person. And he goes, checks out their Instagram feed, looks at what they're doing in social, and develops more information he knows about their location, their interests, all this stuff, what their Twitter and Instagram feeds entail. It's kind of creepy, but it's kind of awesome for brands because we get to learn so much, right? We learn so much about the people who are interested in us and give them the content that they're interested in too. So, what do you do with all that stuff? You optimize, as always. So, as we said, those 6 things in the beginning, you can discover product or brand issues. You can have product development feedback. Tell your team what's working, what's not. Identify competitive insights. Find fans, advocates, and influencers. Who's going to share this content for you? And maybe there's a way that you can disseminate their information. They want to be shared as well. And again, identify those content themes and topics through engagements. And the last thing, you want to engage. The whole point of this conference is to talk about how social is a two-way conversation. So create content, use the platforms that you have on hand, and do fun stuff with it. Thank you.